Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Metacast podcast. That is the podcast that explores itself, explores ourselves, and explores the self in general. My name is Ty. I'm one of your co-hosts.
I am Distance, the co-host that wishes you dead.
I think we both do. He could have lumped me in with that. I honestly wish you dead too. And if you couldn't tell, tonight is the Metacast movie show about those who wish me dead. Those Who Wish Me Dead is a 2021 action thriller. It is directed by Taylor Sheridan, has a screenplay by Michael Corita, Charles Leavitt, and of course Taylor Sheridan. It's based on Those Who Wish Me Dead by Michael Corita.
It stars Angelina Jolie, Finn Little, Aidan Gillen, and Jon Bernthal.
The budget for this movie was somewhere right around $20 million, with a limited box office take of $7.6 million, and also released on streaming service HBO Max.
It has a tomato meter rating of 63% with an audience score of 84%.
Based on the 2014 novel of the same name, Those Who Wish Me Dead follows a young boy named Connor. After his father is killed for finding out a major secret that implicates many powerful people, Connor finds himself in the Montana wilderness trying to run from the hitmen. Luckily, he runs into a smoke jumper with the survival skills needed to assist, played by Angelina Jolie. So my first initial thoughts of this, I mean, it is a cheesy action thriller. There is quite a bit of cheese in it. Mucho queso is a term that came to mind. It is not great, but it's not horrible. I do have to admit though, I found myself kind of bored while watching this. There were multiple times that I had to specifically tell myself to put the phone down and pay attention. Like, I found my mind wandering and wanting to do other things. It did not grab me in the way many movies do, and especially I think an action movie should. It needs to have scenes that really grab your attention and keep you invested. And a lot of this, I didn't care enough about some of the characters and what was going on to really feel invested whatsoever. So to give this any kind of verdict, it's definitely not the worst movie I've ever seen. There are great redeeming parts of this. As always, Jon Bernthal gave a great performance. I thought that Aidan Gillen was really good in it as well. Of course, Angelina Jolie did her thing. She's a great actress. But it's really not that great. If a friend puts this on, I don't think you need to try to avoid it like the plague, but it's not the type of movie that while watching it, you can just feel your brain cells dying. It is not that bad, but I just would not go out of my way to watch it. So for a general audience, I am going to give this one a no. I think it's something you could skip and you're not going to be missing out on much. What about you?
Oh, this movie, if you call it that, is I'm just kidding. I liked it. I feel like the main appeal to me was you can tell this is based on a book because of kind of the way the plot goes with it. It's a good story, I think. And that's kind of a testament to the writing. Most of the acting I thought was pretty good. There were a few moments of cheese. I thought Finn Little, dude can act.
Yeah.
He did a really good job. And it's odd because I actually felt fairly invested in this movie, and a lot of the time when we do like talks, like I'm the one that's usually going on and on about not feeling invested, or I probably talk about character development more than I should in every episode. And in this film, I there are a few characters that were a bit flat. Ethan, played by Jon Bernthal, did not get a lot. Hannah, played by Angelina Jolie, I thought was pretty well developed. Finn, honestly, I feel like the character was developed just by the talent, and because I'm only saying talent because he's young, by the talent of the actor that played him. I like the fact that there's several little storylines going on at once. I did kind of call a few things that I thought were going to happen in the movie that ended up more or less being true. I thought it was cool to see Nicholas Hoult play someone other than Beast from X-Men.
Yeah.
I don't know for the character. I don't want to be a jerk about his range because I don't think this is a role where he really got to do much. I think there was a type of character they wanted him to play as like a no spoilers, but a hitman, we'll say, kind of. But yeah, I didn't hate it. I felt invested in the characters. I was able to relate to several of the characters. I found some of the storyline appealing. There's a couple scenes where I felt like they could have created more tragedy, and I kind of felt like they were kind of babying the audience a little bit. I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like they could have come at us a little bit harder, and really hit us with some really like gut-wrenching like plot points, and I feel like we really didn't get hit that hard. Also, I don't know how accurate this is compared to the book, but I wonder if some of the plot points I thought could have been a little harder on the audience weren't. I recognize I have a lot to say about this one right now.
It's all good.
So for this one, I've actually already recommended this to all the guys on my team at work. I've recommended it to a few coworkers. I really like this one. I felt like the characters were well enough developed that I felt invested. I didn't really consider it an action film, and that might be part of the reason why I feel a little differently about it, because I didn't really consider it an action film at all, even though there's a good bit of action that happens. So for me on this one, I'm going to give it a yes, because I generally do think that there's a lot of people that would probably enjoy the film. But I would say maybe don't think of it as an action film, because if that's what you're expecting, you will be disappointed.
I can see that. That's fair. Well, there are some plot points, even though some of it is weak. There are some plot points that could be spoiled by this. So we're gonna bring out this little guy right here, and spoiler Terry's just gonna ruin everything for us. There we go. All right, so yeah, let's get into some of this. I do think, like, I loved it. You started to go there with talking about the no, we were not talking about Lord of the Rings. We were talking about the movie in the description, Those Who Wish Me Dead. Oh shit, what was his name? The younger hitman, the guy that was played by Beast. I forget that character's name.
Here I can find him. Patrick,
thank you. I do feel like they were really trying to set up some stuff with where that character's arc was going. There seemed like multiple scenes where he started to question almost like what he was doing. And then that never really went anywhere. I thought that was kind of strange. It felt like there was some like character development that was happening that then at the end I was like, well, what happened with that? Like, were those just loose, like random ideas? Like what was that?
Yeah, to some degree, I kind of agree with you. There were some characters in the movie that were very well developed, and there were some characters that didn't necessarily need to be developed, but it would have been nice if they had a little more to them. It's always more fun when the writer kind of screws with you a little bit by giving you a way to relate to the villain.
Yeah.
And they didn't really do that. The whole movie, you get this idea that they're just pure evil. You know, they're like the real villain. Like they say things like "Drat, foiled again," and you haven't seen the last of me.
Yeah.
So I agree with you that they really could have done some more to make those characters something more than just these little bad actors. I mean, no pun intended.
I was not even trying to say could have, though. It's like it felt like they were setting something up that then just didn't pay off. That's what really threw me off. It's like, unless I guess the point of that was to be some sort of diversion to maybe make you possibly start to feel for Patrick and then at the end pull the rug out from you or out from under you. I'm not sure what the intention was, but to me it did seem strange to me.
Yeah, I guess I kind of felt like there was maybe a little bit that was there that it seemed like they might have been pushing toward, but it wasn't so noticeable that I was like, got to a point in the film where I was like, why the fuck aren't these guys developed?
Yeah.
Like I was expecting this because they did the thing and I saw the thing and it's not,
Are you watching like a secret camera of me? That's what I was sitting on my desk chair doing. Like, what the fuck, bro? I wanted development in my villains.
Dude, I thought the bad guys were going to be something more than just bad guys.
True.
Yeah, and they're, yeah, because I just thought of this as a drama, really. That's really what I went into it expecting.
Yeah.
And at no point did I feel like I was watching an action film. And if I was expecting that, I know I would have been disappointed because this just to me wasn't an action film at all.
However, though, I would say if I went into this, so I'm trying to I try to look at things like compared to their genre, or at least what I perceive the genre to be. And it's like if I went into this expecting just a drama, I feel like it's going to be in a league of a lot of movies with just a lot more good drama going on. That it's like I wouldn't put this next to, I mean, okay, first of all, if it's a drama, quote unquote, that's going to be in that slice of pie with all of the Oscar winners and tearjerkers and all that stuff. And that, in my opinion, it's just going to fall flat as far as like many of the like emotional ties that you would have to the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's no Benjamin Button. Like it's, we weren't watching something like that. It's not a Titanic. It's, it's not some like epic drama. I mean, I wouldn't, is it a Draction? Can you say that? A drama action film?
I was trying to think of what the opposite was. Actra? Yeah, I think Draction is even better. They're both really awkward. But yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from, though. I mean, the action definitely, like, to call it an action thriller, it doesn't have enough really of either. It is mostly about the small slice of the world that you're seeing going on, and not necessarily like any sort of like huge threat or anything. Just like literally the character story of a couple minor characters. Yeah.
And the thing that I found the most interesting about the movie is you have all of this disparity. So you start out this movie with a fire and then someone waking up, and then you go from that to a person in a really nice house making food, and there's a kid there, and you can tell that the person's wife is no longer there and the kid's mom's not there, and then the guy sees a thing on the news and then they like disappear off into whatever, and you don't really know why you saw the sheriff person or deputy, I guess is what he was, and what he has to do with the story, and then why this other person is acting the way that they are with the deputy person. And then you're like, then you slowly start to figure out, oh, this is how this works, and these are how these people intertwine. And it's not one of those movies where, the movies where there's like 3 or 4 plot lines and they're all very separate and you really don't know where it's going at all, and there's all of this like very slow, deliberate subtlety in how those plot lines develop, and then they come together in this most unexpected fashion. That isn't what this was. It wasn't one of those movies.
That reminds me a lot of, oh my god, what was it? Holy shit, had devil in the title with Tom Holland and Pattinson. What was that? Fuck, what was that called?
The Devil All the Time.
Devil All the Time. Thank you. Yeah. Like that style where it's kind of the plot lines that then eventually come together and pay off. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess the thing with this movie is that it's really not a pure drama at all. It's not a pure action film.
Yeah.
But this to me doesn't fit in the category of like objectively bad films.
When I was looking around for like what other places put the genre as to try to like influence my notes, I think I forget if it was Wikipedia or IMDb, but there was like neo-western. That was something I've never read before. I was like, what? Neo-western? That's interesting.
It's like we're just running out of genres to call shit now.
Speaking real quick, I'm gonna jump to the top of my notes here with the the introduction of you find out to be the deputy, John Bernthal. Is it common for a deputy to always be wearing a ballistic vest like that? I thought that was really, he just seemed overdressed on like his normal patrols.
I mean, I was at a shopping mall and saw two cops. They weren't on the outside, but they were wearing vests like under their like shirts. And I mean, they're just walking around the mall. So, I mean, I really feel like it's a better safe than sorry thing. But I've seen cops like near my place, or not deputies, like near my place, that have actually been wearing that little vest with the, you know, the Velcro sheriff on the back of it. So, I mean, I don't know how common it is, but I've seen it before.
Gotcha.
But I mean, this is Frank Castle we're talking about.
It is true. Yeah.
He is the Punisher, after all.
He is a really good actor, though. I have to say, like, he's always like. Yeah. Did you know that did you know he's actually like classically trained? Like, he went to one of like the best acting schools in the world in Russia, and like like he didn't even speak Russian at all when going there. And the coolest thing is, like, apparently the first year you are taught exclusively to act with no dialogue, so it didn't really matter that he didn't actually speak Russian. It's like you're taught to like literally act silently, and that way not to overact gestures, but to be able to like convey with just your face or body or things rather than in dialogue. But yeah, it really, I saw him do an interview and like learned that it's like he really is like not just a good actor, but like a classically trained, like, yeah, he knows his shit.
I mean, it makes sense, like, based on watching his performances. Yeah, I mean, I had no idea, but now that you mention it, it really does. And it's funny because there was no way I was going to talk about this movie without talking about his role in The Punisher. Have you seen the like the grunt montages?
No, but I can.
Like in The Punisher.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to watch that. Like, I'm sure on YouTube, if I just Google like Punisher grunt montage, I can find.
It shows in the way he plays that character. Yeah. On The Punisher, he was trained that way because he is able to do a brooding, silent thing really well, and to just use like grunts or monosyllables to act. So I could see that, but I mean, yeah, that the dude can act his ass off for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been really good in just about everything that I've seen him in. I didn't like The Walking Dead in general.
Me neither.
So I didn't really see his performance in that. I loved him in Baby Driver. He was. I'm gonna pull up his body of work really quick because I feel like there's another movie he was in. He was in Ford versus Ferrari. Oh, he played one of the other race car drivers, I think. He's been in a couple other things I thought were really cool. I swear, I want to say he was in another.
I think the big dog in chat brought up a good point. Maybe the vest was more for bear attacks. Maybe that, like, because there's also all like stab and slash protectant as well. So yeah, that makes sense.
Fucking Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you never know. I swear he was in another movie that I really liked him in. I cannot remember what it was.
I know every time I've seen him on screen, I've liked him. There's never once been a role where I was like, he didn't do that well or anything. Like, it's always just been really high quality work.
I'll probably think of the other movie later, but I mean, I liked the dynamic between Ethan, the character that John Bernthal played, and Allison, the wife. The interaction between the two of them I thought was really good. And it wasn't overdone. There was some subtlety to it. The way that they were able to kind of act that sort of sense, like, okay, have you ever been with like a couple who just have each other figured out, and they almost have this ability to anticipate each other.
Yep.
And it's all because they've spent time like being deliberate about building a good relationship.
Yeah.
And there's the subtle cues that you can kind of pick up on with those people. You don't really have to, even if you're not a very intuitive person, you can usually tell.
Yeah.
They were able to act those subtleties in a way that I thought was really cool.
I agree.
I mean, and she, what was the name of the Medina Senghor, I think is how you say her last name. She complimented him very well, they complement each other very well in the scenes that they were in together. There wasn't much, but you got this sense of familiarity between the two of them that was really cool.
Yeah, like, I agree.
I don't know how they were. I don't know how they were able to do that, but to me that goes beyond screen chemistry. There's another thing to call that, and I don't know what the word is.
That was exactly what I was going to say there. Yeah, it's much more than just chemistry. On the contrary to that, though, I really was not impressed with the dynamic between Ethan and Hannah. I feel like that felt too overdone. Him being the sheriff and her being the wild, the wild smoke jumper, and he, set up even the beginning with, "Hey, don't you do that thing?" And she's like, "Oh well, I'm older now. I wouldn't do that thing." And then cut to 90 seconds later, "I'm gonna do that thing." Like, it was, I don't know. The beats at the beginning were a little. Yeah. They went way over the top, trying to just prove that Hannah was just one of the boys. Like that, some of the scenes at the top were like at the beginning were just a little too constructed, but.
Yeah, it's like, I just did that thing. You just did do that thing. Like, you're not going to arrest me. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was also somewhat irritated with the fact that they, in a very, they did the bad dialogue thing where Allison says to Ethan, or no, I think Ethan said something about like, yeah, my ex-wife and whatever. And I'm like, oh, thank you for telling us that.
Yep.
Very bluntly.
Yep.
Without any indication in any other way that's the case, other than the fact you just fucking told us. Mm-hmm. And they never explained that relationship, and I had a huge problem with that. I actually found that to be a huge gap.
I can agree. Yeah.
Because I recognize that maybe they wanted to develop the relationship in the film. And I have no doubt, I haven't even read the book, I have no doubt that the relationship between Ethan and Hannah, in the book, I'm certain that there has to be much more.
Oh, yeah.
And that they just didn't have time in the film. Because that's always the problem with translating a work of literature into a film. This is always what happens, is they just don't have the time resources to really create something.
Which
unless
I
it's
do,
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like what Sarah said earlier. Yeah, like Lord of the Rings. But I do think they respected the audience time a lot by keeping it at it's really like a 90-minute movie, and it felt paced well for that. Other than, like you're saying, yes, there was obviously history there that they didn't show us. They tried to just kind of put that what was probably pages in the book to literally one line and be like, all right, here we can give the audience this, but.
Yeah, and you got your little check boxes like, okay, wild person, check. One of the boys, check. Ex-wife of this character, check. Thank you for telling us.
With that being said, though, there was then coming up in my notes right afterwards is the strange horse scene with Connor, which was another thing that felt like unless I'm missing something, that didn't really seem to pay off later. I don't really know what the point of that screen time was to I guess show how he's somewhat brave in nature. I'm not sure what that was.
Sometimes when I watch movies, there's some scenes where I just kind of feel like it's art.
Yeah.
That they're just trying to do a cool shot. And that particular scene, when I was watching it, I was so interested in the way that it was filmed and what they were doing, and the way that the camera angle they used to show the dad back at the car.
Yeah.
That angle was really cool. And the way that you had kind of the horse and oh my God, what the fuck is the kid's name?
Connor.
Connor, the horse and Connor kind of in the shop, but you can sort of see the dad, but no one's in the center of the frame.
Yeah. Yep.
That was cool. To me, I was just so interested in the camera work and the way that it was shot that I just allowed myself to enjoy it. But I'm almost completely positive that maybe it's just some metaphor I'm too stupid to understand. Or maybe there was no point. Yeah. Those to me seem like the only possibilities. Either I'm too stupid or there was no point.
If it is, it's you and me both. Because I did not get it. I even have in my notes here, I was like, this better be important later. And then I did not see that coming back at all. At least if it did, I completely missed it.
And I'm going to later on when we get to our kind of more meta or what I forget what are we calling the new section?
What is that? Self-reflection. It's more the idea is what did we learn about ourselves by watching this movie? Yeah.
when we get to the self-reflection scene, I'll come back to the horse part because there was a specific thing for me personally that I was thinking of right then.
Gotcha. Okay.
Also, do you remember the movie Team America?
Fuck yeah. Did you see what I did there? See what
Oh yeah. Fuck yeah. That was actually really good. I sometimes I just feel like I'm not quick enough to like, and I don't catch the jokes. So yes, that was a good one. I wish I'd noticed it.
Thank you.
But it is good. Do you remember when they did that song "Pearl Harbor Sucks" and "I Missed You"? Or
yes.
Pearl Harbor sucked. They were talking shit about the movie Pearl Harbor.
Yes. Yeah.
And they say, "I need you like Cuba Gooding needed a bigger part. He's way better than Ben Affleck."
Yeah, I do remember that line. Yeah.
I need you like Tyler Perry needed a bigger part.
Yes, I loved that he showed up in that one scene, and then it was like, where'd he go? Where's Medea? I want him back.
So I watched this movie with my lady friend. She actually watched it over the weekend, but was okay watching it with me again.
Cool.
And when he showed up, I was like, "Is that it?" And she was like, "Yep." I was like, "Oh."
What did we just watch recently where he was also a villain?
The Affleck and he wasn't a villain.
No, I'm sorry, just had a serious role. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I totally said that wrong. Yeah.
In a Gone Girl, he was the attorney.
Thank you.
But I mean, it's okay. Like if you see a lawyer, a lot of people think villain.
True. That might have been Freud. Yeah.
No one blames you for that slip. I'm sure a lot of people would be like, the fascist lawyer. Like, bro, come on. Just kidding. I have one friend who's a lawyer.
What happened to the rest of them? Yeah. That was supposed to be a joke.
What? They're in prison. They're bad. They're shitty lawyers. That's what happened. So there's like I just wish Tyler Perry would have done more in the film because that little tiny bit he was on the screen, I was like, bro, this is good. This is good. And I just had this moment where I actually felt the need to pause it, look at my significant other, and tell her, I take him so much more seriously when he's not dressed up like an old lady.
I feel the same way about Robin Williams. Yeah.
That's true. But no, Mrs. Doubtfire was one of the best things that guy ever did. Are you kidding?
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I'm just saying I didn't take him seriously in the role.
Did you see Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman?
Yes, I've definitely seen Tootsie.
I fucking love that movie. I have a feeling though, because I watched it a long time ago. I have a feeling though that if I watched it now, there's a lot of things that are said in the movie where I would be like, bro, it's 2021, y'all.
Yeah.
So I kind of, we should do that. We should do one episode where we just watch a bunch of movies from like the 80s and just point out every single thing that just wouldn't fucking fly now. Because there's a lot of shit that's like ridiculous it would be funny, I'm sure.
There is apparently like a X-rated cut of Mrs. Doubtfire. Just simply because I guess Robin Williams on set had a long running gag where he would just like show his balls under his dress. And like, so there's apparently a lot of footage of Robin Williams just like flashing his nuts while dressed up as Mrs. Doubtfire. I don't like it went around on the internet a while ago. It came out that existed. And I was like, oh my God, if we could find that and review that, it'd be hilarious.
That is disturbing.
A little bit. Yeah. He was a very funny man. He was.
I'd like to rewind because I jumped way ahead to the Tyler Perry part.
Sure.
But I'd like to kind of rewind to the beginning of the film. There's two things that are rather insignificant that were just fun for me. I'm happy that there was a Volkswagen because there's two versions of the sport wagon. There's the Jetta sport wagon and the Golf sport wagon. Okay. I don't know which one that was. I thought it was fun that Volkswagen was represented in the movie. I like V-dubs.
They're good cars.
Usually it's always some sporty whatever. I love the fact that there was a fucking station wagon in the movie.
What made it more believable? Yeah, that it was like, I mean, it's a family car. It's not like dude had a fucking like Tesla Roadster or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have made him like very unrelatable. But just how many takes do you think that cornhole scene took where she chucks the beanbag and it lands right in the hole?
Well, if I remember correctly, the beanbag left the frame. right?
Did it?
I think so. Yeah. And the way, have you ever seen the TikTok videos? Like the way you do that, like you're throwing it off frame to someone who literally is just dropping it straight in out of frame. Like we could very easily set those up, but if it didn't go out of frame, I'm totally wrong. But maybe they just, what if that was CGI? That's like part of the CGI budget was like, all right, we need Angelina Jolie to nail this shot, and she just can't do it.
There's never a beanbag. Like, we're gonna need to make the fire just a little bit smaller, so then that way we can fit in the beanbag.
The secret.
They just gave up.
There is no beanbag.
Is that a Matrix reference?
That was a Matrix reference. I'm so glad you got that. Yeah.
You're like, I'm so glad you finally got one of my jokes, you dense fucking, yeah. And there's also like a couple other weird little things that I had, like when Hannah is in the truck about to pull the parachute and do something silly.
Mm-hmm.
Could you at least close the fucking bed of the truck, please?
Yeah, that didn't need to be open. Well,
Did they have to make you that reckless?
I think there was a Mythbusters episode about this. I think that there's actually a benefit to doing that. Actually, I forget if it was like tailgate up or tailgate down, but they check to see if you get better gas mileage in a truck with it one way or the other, and
that it might create drag with the
but it ends up creating this bubble where the air inside of it is just kind of circling slowly, and it actually it helps. I forget what the actual forget I said any of that. Yeah, they should have closed the tailgate. You're 100% right, definitely.
Mythbusters, we thank you for whatever the hell you actually determined in that episode. Oh man, I just realized there's a couple things that I put in the wrong section of my notes. I need to fix that.
I've got one thing early that I still haven't figured out if this bothers me or if I like it. The fact that we never actually find out what the forensic accountant found out or anything, and that the whole point of the story is that Connor's dad stumbled across some secret, implicates a lot of people. There's hitmen really trying to clean that up, and we never know what it is. That to me was just kind of felt like an itch that I really wanted scratched at the end of the movie. That it felt like some sort of resolution I wanted that I didn't get.
But it wasn't about that though.
True.
The movie wasn't really about that.
No, but the whole movie happened because of that.
That was the catalyst. I mean, that was the reason for the plot. But as we get further into the film, we recognize, or at least I kind of got to the point where I recognized that the movie wasn't about it, and the story that we were told was much different than the story of what happened and what he found. And me, I'm always really angry about loose ends in a story. I usually get really upset about it, and tell me a fucking story. That's why I paid you money. But I feel like I was still told a really good story without it. But still,
it was tangential
curiosity.
to the story.
Yeah, I would have also liked to have known. That would have been nice. It didn't ruin the movie, but I would have been very interested to know.
Part of me was hoping that it was going to be actually tied into reality, that they find out that Clinton paid someone to kill Epstein. Some sort of actual I thought that would have been hilarious if it was literally oh, by the way, the entire Democratic Party are reptilian aliens that drink the blood of children. Oh, that's what they found out.
Or one of this guy used to work for Enron and he's the reason. I don't know. That's so dated. If you don't understand that reference, then you're too young to date me.
That's fair. Oh my God, when was that? That was before 2000, right? Was that Enron in late 90s, 99? When did the
pretty sure, yeah.
happen?
They did a remake of the movie Fun with Dick and Jane featuring Jim Carrey and Tay Leone, where they adapted it to the times, because the older movie I think was from the 60s or maybe 70s. But at the end of the movie, it's about a company's been cooking their books and they end up going under and Dick loses his job, and they actually thanked Enron in the credits.
I remember that. Yeah. I rewatched Fun with Dick and Jane, the 2005 one recently with that was one of those, we've talked about it before, not in specifically that movie, but where Alec Baldwin is just the only one who can play that role. He was perfect for that.
There's no way anybody else could have done it. It had to be him in that one. Yeah. And I'm actually I more or less made my girlfriend watch it because I was like, "You've never seen this?" And she thought it was funny. It's actually one of my favorite Jim Carrey films. But you know, but it really would have been nice to know what happened, because the curiosity. But it's funny because by the end of the film, I'd kind of forgotten about it.
Until the like big moment at the end is that like the media is pulling up and he's gonna do the interview and you're like, oh, here we're gonna find out, and like, nope. I mean, I knew by that point that we weren't gonna find out. I even have like in my notes at some point I was like, yeah, we're never gonna learn what this is. But
and I don't know how the book turns out, but I almost have the feeling that by the time you get to the end of writing this book, you're thinking to yourself, you know, I don't know that there's anything I can come up with that be satisfying to the audience.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know if whatever I come up with will kind of fit the bill.
Yeah.
And so it might just be a way to, because I don't know what the hell I would have written if I wrote the book.
Yeah, true.
So
I think that's a good point. It was like a little pet peeve I had. What? Okay, I got to say one other thing that I have really bothered me near the end. And I'm not even 100% sure if I'm right in this, but I have heard a lot. And if you guys can tell, I do enjoy shooting firearms every once in a while. I normally shoot at little pieces of paper downrange, sometimes steel targets. But in video games, you can't shoot through trees. Trees are like, you'll find me in Tarkov very often, like putting a tree between me and an enemy because it's a completely dense object that you can't shoot through. I've heard that many rounds go straight through trees in reality. I don't understand why that worked at the end of this, where maybe 9 mil or whatever handgun round he had wasn't able to penetrate a tree, but I felt like he would have just shot straight through that tree rather than like playing this weird like merry-go-round game with her. But
yeah, that was kind of almost comedic in that scene, because I was kind of looking at it like, what? Also, if you guys are wondering what the hell Ty is talking about, he also does a show with his mom called Wholesome Tarkov, where they play the game Escape from Tarkov together, and it's pretty fucking hilarious. So if you want to hear Ty's mom call him a pussy, definitely watch the first episode on YouTube. You can find it on his YouTube channel, Tyla TV.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Watch it. I recommend it. But yeah, I the way that they do the scene is it was funny to me. I felt like a moment where I was like, am I supposed to laugh at this? Because
yeah,
I kind of want to laugh right now, and I don't know anything about like if you shoot a tree with a pistol, if it'll go through, and like how thick is the tree and how far do you have to be away from it. So I mean, I don't know if that was a realistic scene or not, but the fact that they were able that she was able to move around the tree in such a way in the state that she was in, to some degree almost the same with him. It was strange, like really happy coincidence for Hannah that she didn't get shot.
Yeah, I really had to flex my suspension of disbelief there for me. I had to like really like, all right, let's work this suspension of disbelief muscle here.
Do you know that little like comedic song? It's like that they'll do. Did you see V for Vendetta?
Of course, yeah.
The scene
how
where
dare you?
Yeah, no, what a terrible thing. I don't know how presumptuous of me. It's like the scene. It's like this kooky song that's like kind of a staple of like weird chase scenes in like comedic films. It's where the talk show host does the thing where it's like the chase with the mask.
I think it's the Benny Hill theme, right? Yeah, it's the theme from Benny Hill. It's always in fast motion. Like, yes, yep.
It seemed to me that they should have been playing that during the scene with the tree at the end.
I have an idea for a little YouTube video I may edit. If I do that and just in like fast forward and throw that music to it, I bet that would be hilarious. Yeah. Thank you for that. I think I'm going to work on that.
It was just strange because I was like, what the fuck are they doing? It ended up with like some strange outrage as opposed to, but it's also, how else are you gonna write that scene what else is there to do? They're in the woods. Like, I don't know how else you can make that action type scene work. So I don't really know that they had a lot of options, but it's like, what are they going to do? Like, oh, luckily there is a car hood just randomly sitting here. There is a very thick
I was about to say, you
lead
could definitely
plate
shoot through a car hood.
Okay,
Unless
yeah,
the
so
engine's
that's why.
there, yeah.
Very thick lead plate that's 3 inches thick that you could not possibly shoot through with a pistol round.
Yep.
Just laying in the woods, like there's not really a lot of other places to do,
True.
but they could have done the scene differently. There could have been a different dynamic to the scene other than that.
Well,
and I don't know.
Honestly, did the handgun need to be there? Because halfway through that scene, the handgun's just fucking gone. I didn't notice if he actually ran out of rounds or what, but it's like all of a sudden, in my notes, I'm like, where did the handgun go? It just seems like it was just all of a sudden gone.
So, because I typically freak out about gun stuff in movies, and that's why most people hate watching movies with me. Because for me, I actually don't. I think it's harm. Okay, this is a stupid analogy, but there's a lot of really ridiculous stereotypes people have in the U.S. about people from certain areas.
True. Yeah.
Like Southeast Asian immigrants of any type. Like there's a lot of like stereotypes that were created by like silly cartoons in the 60s and like stereotypes or that didn't even exist, just ways people wanted to portray like Southeast Asians or minorities or misunderstood groups. Mormons, I don't know.
Mormons deserve every bit of hate they get.
And I think that a lot of those things are harmful and they're like not really good. But I think that in American film, I think that the way that firearms are portrayed is not really good for people.
Yeah.
In general, it's not a good way for us to see these things because a lot of it just makes sense in a way that doesn't make sense in a way that's like utterly ridiculous. Like I recently had a conversation with my mother. She truly believed that the way that you use a was it the M60 machine gun that was in Rambo? Is that you hold it at your hip and wave it back and forth wildly whilst you fire it.
Yeah. The military, like a training manual tells you that it must be as phallic as possible, that you're actually supposed to hip thrust with it too. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and if there's an explosion while it's happening, you can't look at the explosion.
Of course.
And you must always grease up your biceps before you use one.
True.
Must always have the grease. And I recognize that the harm that stereotyping certain groups of people did is much worse.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think, in my opinion, but in the United States, where we're allowed to own firearms, and compared to many other parts of the world, where guns are fairly ubiquitous. I mean, a lot of people own them. I think it's better for films to give you an idea of them that's not ridiculous.
Yeah.
And usually I get angry about stuff in movies that's inaccurate, but there's one thing that was actually kind of cool, accurate, that I thought was a mistake that I realized wasn't.
What's that?
I believe it's that scene when they're in the woods where the character Patrick drops his magazine and like switches out and puts the other magazine in the gun. He's only reloading just in case.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't rack the slide on the pistol, but he didn't rack it because there was a round in the chamber. So what would have happened if he put it in there while the gun wasn't empty? I would have been angry if he racked it because he wasted a round.
Yeah.
And I just thought, for all the times, I didn't want to take that for granted.
Yep.
Because the way he swapped it out, like it wasn't empty and you could tell.
Yep.
And I thought it was cool that they did it that way. And, once again, that's a super special interest thing. So if you're a movie person, you might not even give a shit.
I think there was quite a bit done well with the firearms in this, where things that I've learned from again, Tarkov is a video game, but it is mil sim, where it is supposed to be somewhat more realistic. And things that I've learned in my experience in there, where in the very beginning, I was trying way too much to just kind of one tap people. And then I remember watching a video of actual soldiers reviewing Tarkov footage, and they made it a point to point out that when people were just mag dumping, they were like, yeah, that's how it is. You shoot until they stop moving. You're not just trying to land. And that was a lot of in this movie, it wasn't just some super accurate sniper that could hit his shots. It was he had a semi-automatic sniper system that was just okay, line up shots and unload through this building, and rather than just picking off from 300 yards a perfect headshot.
Yeah, Dude, is that the dude? Is that like the what one's a ranger and the other one's like a green beret or some shit?
Yeah. The two guys, they review a lot of video game footage. Yeah, they did like
I
2 or
think I
3
might have
Tarkov
actually
videos.
seen that.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that one, and I thought it was pretty interesting that they did it like that. And man, I'll tell you what though, dude, the scene where the dad is driving down the road with the kid Connor, and like those people just open up on the car.
Yeah.
Like that shit was brutal. I was like, oh my God. And then like when they kind of shot him down the hill while he was trying to drive away, like that scene itself was a hard watch.
Yeah.
They hadn't really created a lot of attachment to the dad, but I think that Finn Little with his acting as Connor, he brought it with that scene a lot, and his reaction is what made it like hard to watch. And like I want to see this kid in more movies.
Me too. Yeah.
Like this dude did a fucking fantastic job.
Yeah.
I mean, he steals it in several scenes.
And that was honestly, like, when you were saying they didn't do well with the attachment to the dad, I agree. However, I felt for the dad simply because of Connor. You know, it's like, I just knew that it's like, okay, here's a younger, kid. I don't know what age he's supposed to be. Some like either, tweens or like early teens or whatever. It's like, I care about the dad simply because it's like, oh shit, I don't want Connor to lose his dad also. Like, I know that his mom's dead. Like,
yeah. What is it? Tommy Wiseau, the room guy, like real human emotion. There's a lot of. Oh, hi, Mark. Oh God! And if you haven't seen The Room, don't. Unless you just want to make fun of it. Just bring some popcorn, get real drunk, and laugh all night. But there's scenes, there's places where you don't have to put any real human emotion because most average people will feel it anyway.
Yeah. Yep.
So I kind of see what you're saying with that maybe it wasn't necessary for the storytellers to create much because most of us will kind of feel it anyway.
Yeah.
Except for
except for psychopaths, right? Like if you have any sense of human empathy or whatever, yeah.
Or like if you have like a real like fuck you dad like kind of mentality, then maybe if your dad really sucked, or just wasn't around, be like, well, now you know what my life's like, kid. But also here's another problem that I have a little bit. Okay, didn't the character Jack, played by Aidan Gillen, which by the way, that dude does an American accent really well.
Yeah, I agree.
He's Irish, I think.
I think so.
One of them places in the Kingdoms of the United.
Oh shit! I just realized you don't know where he's mostly known from. You didn't watch a lot of Game of Thrones, right? He was a major villain in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the series. I remember him.
Okay.
Early on, he was that kind of like manipulative kind of. What wasn't he like in a brothel? Isn't that where you meet him, in a brothel at the beginning of the?
Maybe. Well, I mean, he's like
he had like a mustache, right?
Yeah, he's like hand of the king. He has some sort of like inside role. But yeah. Littlefinger, I think, was the name of his role in Game of Thrones. Yeah.
He played Tommy, I think, in Snatch.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
I think that was him. I might be wrong. He played a role in Snatch. I'm almost completely positive. Or he was in another Guy Ritchie film. They all kind of blend together. You know what? I'm going to look that up. Snatch, 2000 film.
No, yeah, I don't think it was.
That was not him.
Yeah.
That was Stephen Graham. Totally different actor.
But
what other movie was
there is
Aidan
something
Gillen
I knew him in.
He was in something that Guy Ritchie did, I thought.
I feel like you're right too, but I can't place it. Holy shit, he was in The Dark Knight Rises. I completely forgot about that.
Who did he play?
He was CIA op Bill Wilson. I don't know how much screen time he got. But
yeah. He wasn't there for much, but I remember him now. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's gonna drive me crazy if I don't find out what other film he was in. I swear it was a Guy Ritchie film.
He was apparently in Shanghai Nights. I don't remember him in that either. That's funny. Do you remember that movie, the Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan movie?
Yeah, I loved it. Like the scene where he's like, "Spotted dick, sir," and he's like, hold on. I think this guy's trying to ask me if I got the clap.
Wow.
which I actually found a pretty good spotted dick recipe. It's just a cake.
I wish you would have ended before recipe. I wish that was just the whole sentence was.
I mean, you can always edit that out, but if you want to, just make me stop.
True. I have all the power.
I am not gonna remember what other movie I know him from. He was in another film that I liked a lot.
Yeah, he's a good actor though.
He was in Blitz.
Oh shit, was he?
Yes, and because Jason Statham is in Blitz. Is this a Guy Ritchie film?
No. There's no way. Yeah, no.
Elliot Lester.
Yeah.
And because Jason Statham is like Guy Ritchie's like favorite whatever.
Yeah.
I thought it was Snatch. Okay, yeah. This makes sense now. All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, sorry. That's all right. There's my mind. But right after they start shooting, that guy gets hit by a fucking car.
Yeah.
Jack gets hit real fucking hard by a Volkswagen, and somehow just just gonna mosey on over here and shoot the shit out of the rim.
He has a limp for the rest of the movie.
Oh, jeez, seriously? But okay.
I'm advocating for Satan here. I'm definitely like I'm definitely joking. But yeah, it is. And then also gets half of his face burnt off, but just like kind of is fine with that. Other than he does say at one time, "I'm fading here, partner."
Yeah, and then so all you get is that, and then I know from the other guy. You're like, what? Okay, all right. Well, he's feeling it. Make sure you always tell the audience, never show us.
Speaking of that scene too, there was something I really didn't fucking understand. Where like, okay, so earlier in the movie, when there's a really cool scene where John Bernthal is basically just refusing to track the kid and saying like, fine, go ahead and kill me. I'm gonna die with my dignity or whatever.
That's when he let out his Frank Castle.
Yes, he definitely
he was
did.
The Punisher right there.
But so in that scene, you'd see Patrick ask Jack, like, just give me the word. It's like you get from that scene that Jack is the leader of this team, and Patrick basically has to follow his. And then in the end of the movie, it's complete opposite. Like all of a sudden, like Patrick starts giving orders as to how things are going to be handled. And it's like it just didn't. You know me, I value this consistency, and I didn't understand why that all of a sudden changed. What the point of that was. Like it's almost like the writer just kind of forgot who was supposed to give that line. Like, oh, we'll just have Patrick say it. Like.
Who's the whatever? Can we flip back in the script? No, fuck it. Like, didn't you write the book? Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
But and maybe this is a stupid comparison, but I feel like in some way, like, it's almost like the dynamic between you and me, like with this thing, like we're like, like there isn't really. No, it's really not, because it's never like I'm like, what do we do, man? And then you're like, what do we do, man? Or like, you give the order. I don't know. We have an equal partnership, whereas in that situation, it's like 100% me or 100% you, and would just end somebody fucked up writing it.
I think so. Unless
it was shit writing. You're right.
Unless we were supposed to get that there was like the changing of the mantle there, because we see that Jack is like it, but it wasn't set up in a way that made sense to me, because the other thing that I feel like was being set up a lot was literally Patrick questioning if what they were doing was worth it. When he's like, there are multiple scenes where it looks like he's kind of not okay with what Jack is doing, like starting the forest fire when he's watching him throw those torch or the road flares. It's like he's questioning it. And there, like, I actually feel like the actor portrayed that well, and then that wasn't really what was happening, I guess. Yeah, it's strange. Unless maybe the point of it was to be a misdirection, and I'm just like not getting the point, I guess. I don't know.
I think this is a situation where it just doesn't make sense. I mean, I appreciate you being humble and thinking maybe you didn't get it, but I think you might be on the right track here. I really do think you're right that it really doesn't make sense. And I actually had a problem. Oh, also, like, just tiny point. After Jack gets half of his face burned off, did you also want Christian Bale to drop down in like a Batman costume and be like, "Oh, Two-Face"?
No, I wanted Ben Affleck. I wanted this to be part of the DC extended universe. Ben Affleck is my Batman, sir.
You know what? Zack Snyder needs to come up with a 4-hour version of this movie instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in a few years we'll be doing the 6-hour version of the sequel. Those Two Wish Me Dead. Did you?
Oh yeah, always gotta. Yeah, it's like Taken 2. Like they're going to take you again.
Two wish,
but-
two dead. Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's
That was.
like, it'll be like the new Tug Speedman. And if you don't understand that reference, watch the episode we did on Tropic
Oh my
Thunder.
God, Sarah!
But hold on to your tuchus.
Sarah, your Batman is Michael Keaton. That's respectable. At least it's not Clooney. At least it's not Clooney. Keaton's respectable. I can get with that.
We can respect Cleaton. We can respect Keaton here. Yeah, totally. We're not going to give you any flack for that. Now, if you want to pull a Clooney person on here, assuming you're still friends with one, having known that, we will fight them.
We do need to have the Batman debate. We need to have like one person that can represent each Batman as their actual favorite, and just like have one big panel where
we have a very good friend, Craig, who also does some stuff on Twitch and YouTube that loves Batman. He named a fucking pet rabbit he had Batman. So, and I'm sure we can find a few other people that have. We will never find a Clooney one.
It might be rough. Did Craig tell us his favorite Batman? Is he a Keaton man too?
I don't think he really did. Like I've never clearly heard it.
Okay.
I'm gonna get him real drunk on Friday when we hang out and see if I can get him to finally spill the beans on his favorite Batman. Maybe I should just start with him sober and just figure out if he'll answer the question.
Let me see. I'm ready to move on to meta section. Unless, do you have any other like actual beats from the story? Oh yeah, what is it? Go for
I want to, because you mentioned the forest fire scene, I wanted to say something about it. I got a big fucking problem with that whole scene.
Like him doing that, or
well, yeah, it's like, well, no, like just as a plot point. Like I wrote in my notes, why is a forest fire the right distraction? ? Like. Because then that way there can be some involvement from the smoke jumpers, and then everything will make sense because this person's a smoke jumper that didn't fucking make any sense until just now. Why was that? Because these people, they look like they're FBI agents, aren't they? Aren't they federal agents that are like corrupt or some shit?
Okay. I can take the opposing stance here. I can take the opposing stance here. I think in a small town remote area that they're supposed to be in, that would literally be all hands on deck. Like you're going to thin out so much of the police force, so much of like any of the first responders that are now focusing on that, where it may make anything else you're doing have less opposition. I guess maybe that's, but still it's like, it does feel just way too constructed that like, oh, by the way, we need to tie in like to the main, what the main character does. Like, yeah. And also, just like what the big dog in chat said, it found it strange that there was a smoke jumper in the middle of a fire, but we never actually see anyone or anything fighting the fire. There's this massive, like you said, they started it, but like we see no scenes of what that was supposed to do. I guess from my argument that there should have been a lot of people fighting that fire.
Yeah. Also, I realized I want to be in a forest fire with Angelina Jolie, and where the only thing we can do is hide in a creek together.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
And also, I need to see the fucking creeks in Montana because the water seems to be really clear in those creeks.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, they got really good visibility here. There was another point that I wanted to mention. Oh yes, the thing that I said in the very beginning in the Should You Watch section about that the audience could have handled more. Yeah. I constantly talk about, and one of the reasons why I didn't completely hate Dark Crimes was because I liked the way that the villain was played in that. I felt like he made me really dislike him. And don't get me wrong, Dark Crimes is a garbage film. Even though I told people that they should see it. But I feel like it's one of those things where it's fun to talk about how bad it is too. And I always come back, every time I talk about villains, I always come back to Joaquin Phoenix in Gladiator, because Commodus, the way he plays Commodus, in my opinion, is one of the villains in film that just rubbed me the wrong way all the way through. And they could have given us an opportunity in this film to really, really dislike the villains.
Yeah, I agree.
It would have upset me very much if they had killed Allison. And that would have bothered me quite a lot but that's the point of a movie. You need to get an emotional response from the audience. The villains were just too flat. That's a problem I had with them, is that I really cared about the protagonist personally, but the villains, like, they needed to make them do something more ruthless, more awful. Because if they had actually killed, like, the guy's pregnant wife, then that would have really done it for me. And then the other point that you made, like, you thought they were going to fucking go somewhere with the character Patrick. So if you're not going to give me a way to fuck up my moral compass by making one of the villains relatable, at least make me hate them.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
While I enjoyed this movie, I feel like there was a lack of a really seriously bad kind of villain, and I also wish that the fire would have been a bigger character in the film too.
Yep, I do have to say,
be a bigger obstacle.
Part of me thought it was kind of, I don't want to use the word interesting, or like it. Part of me thought it's somewhat cool that it did seem like they had a bit of a code. He was not willing to kill a pregnant woman. That it was like it did make it seem more business than literally just being, you know, a vessel of pure evil. That it was like he's doing a job. He even says, like, earlier in the movie, okay, anyone who sees our face is gonna die, and then has to, like, compromise that because he has some sort of code that it's like, oh well, hold on, it's a pregnant woman, we're not gonna do that. Like it added some layer to the character, but I completely agree, it wasn't constructive to the story or made me feel more. Yeah,
because with the thing, like, not killing, because that the problem I have is that the good thing he did was so unbelievably reasonable.
Yep.
That one of the things that any reasonable person would feel like anybody who had any kind of, like, moral or ethical, like, compass that was worth a shit, like, it was just such a reasonable thing to not do that it didn't do anything for me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I feel that.
Like, I felt like he wasn't doing anything particularly noble by letting her go. Not to mention he told the lies to Ethan about how, like, oh yeah, you know, I don't want to kill a pregnant woman, but, like, I'll tell this guy to burn her alive or whatever. That was a fucked up thing to say. But, you know, but then again, like, maybe if they had done that and they made the characters that, like, easily dislikable, maybe I'd be bitching about how heavy-handed that was.
Sure. And also we would lose a lot of the emotional impact later then with her coming back and, like, John Bernthal. Like, so, I mean, like, so it would change the story quite a bit. But
was Ethan dead or not?
Yeah, he was dead. Yeah.
Okay, because when she said take your time, because I didn't realize. I guess a medevac isn't always. It's more. I guess they can take you to the coroner as well as
so the nobody left, no man left behind concept too. But yeah. One of the things. Okay, starting into my, like, the meta note. The one meta note I have before I want to go to self reflection and everything. It cannot be just me. Is there anything from the very first theme of the movie that sounded very, very familiar? Like, I need to see it transcribed, but it was really similar to the Avengers theme. There was like a theme that was like bum 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 bum, like right when the credits hit. It was very, like, note for note was really, really similar to the main Avengers like theme there. It was really weird.
I didn't notice.
It immediately, I mean, well, you know, I watched too many Marvel movies, but it immediately jumped out. I mean, I had to rewind it like 3 or 4 times. I was like, that is way too similar. It was very strange.
Well, if what you mean by too many is exactly all of them, then most of us have watched too many Marvel movies.
But no, the number of times I've watched them is too many.
You know, there actually was another. I don't know. It's an insignificant rant. I won't even get on that one.
Well, are you ready to self-reflect?
Yes, let us self-reflect.
So, I know the main thing that this movie taught me. We kind of started to touch on it taught me about myself, I guess, or maybe made me realize about myself. We started to touch on it with some of the scenes where they're talking about Ethan. Both of the scenes that involve Ethan's either death or possibility of death, were the most visceral, like, emotional feelings that I had during the entire movie. Like, realizing that, like, I do have some sort of unresolved issues with the fear of death or mortality or things like that, where it's like that felt, it wasn't just like, you know, I try to be very empathetic in movies and like put myself in the place of characters a lot to really kind of feel what's going on. And it was kind of like, shit, like I don't know if would I be willing to, literally die for this kid that I don't know because I'm wanting to try to keep my dignity by not tracking him. Like that scene, I thought, yeah, like we said, was acted very well, but also it was just like, shit, yeah, it's like it made me realize, yeah, there are some sort of issues that I have there. I got you, Ellie.
Seriously.
She redeemed fire around. I got it.
Okay, all right.
What about you? What was there anything that really stood out to you from this movie that you kind of like learned about yourself?
There's a few things. The fact that Hannah is constantly dwelling on the past. It's something that I think we all do. We're willing to tell other people to let things go and have some grace for the people in our lives that we care about, yet we're not willing to show enough, God, for lack of a better term, love for ourselves.
I was gonna say, it sounds like you really don't like that word.
It's just not in that context. Like, I don't like but it's the idea that so many of us dwell on the things that we've done, and I don't do it anymore really as much as I used to, and for me it's actually something I recognize that I've gotten past as a person, is constantly thinking about all the mistakes or all the bad things, or like how I shouldn't have said that, or I should have said this, or why didn't you do that then, or why did you choose to not do that now, and or do it now when you should have done it then, and all that stuff. Also, the many of us are intrigued or enjoy a redemption story.
Yeah.
And it felt like that Hannah was kind of given that as a character, a chance to be redeemed. And it's really funny because for me, the character of Hannah didn't require development. Hannah was just this walking theme.
Yeah.
Like that she was just a symbol of all these things that we all do. And that when you see that she has the opportunity for redemption, I felt emotionally attached to the idea of that. And I also, the fact that Allison, the wife of Ethan's character, who has a child, the fact that she's got this ferocity, like this kind of mama bear thing.
Yeah.
And her kid's not even born yet. She's doing everything she can to make sure that her child has a dad.
Yep.
And she's out there fucking fighting people, shooting at dangerous people. And for me, it made me kind of recognize the value that all of us have.
Yeah.
For that for moms, like moms that were there, moms that did all this stuff for you, like all the things that, make no mistake, like when you were a child, most of your mothers would have killed for you.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think, because we always think of, not all of us, but many of us think of our moms as something very different. We don't think my mom's a vicious killer if need be. But when put in the situation, I feel like every person has the ability to ferociously defend what they care about. And that, to me, in every person, that's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I like that.
And this one is a little silly, but the scene with the horse, I said I was going to talk about it.
Yeah, I was wondering where that was going to come back. Yeah.
This is just an experience that I had that I thought was really cool. So I ride road bikes sometimes. There's one behind me. Now I only ride those because I sold my mountain bike. But I was riding my road bike just around. I live kind of on the edge of the city limit. And so there's a lot of people with land near me. And there was a time where I was riding and I stopped. Because I needed to eat. You eat on like a clock. So I stopped. It was time to eat, and I was eating like one of my little energy bars. I used to make these little homemade ones, and there's a lot of oats in them, and peanut butter is mostly what I used, and some honey. So I unwrapped it out of the little aluminum foil. I'm sitting next to the road, but I stopped at the side of the road, where like you can kind of tell here's the fence line. So this is like someone's land. but
Yeah.
but then like here's the road, and I'm kind of in the grassy area between. And as I'm standing right there and I'm eating this protein bar, and I look up, I'm like, holy shit, there's a fucking horse next to me.
Like how close?
Like right next to me.
Oh God, okay.
Like she's leaning her head over the fence, and I mean, I was like maybe 2 feet away, less than that.
You remember that episode we did on spatial awareness? You didn't notice it until it was that.
I was so hungry, dude. I was fixated on the yummy.
That's fair.
And I don't know. And that's the reason why I mentioned the oats is because I guess she smelled them or something. And I was like, I'm not going to feed someone else's horse.
Yeah.
You know, like not because I just don't know if they'd be okay with it. But she got like really close to me, and I was like, hey there, can I touch your head? And I started like petting this horse on the side of the road. And I was like, this is so fucking cool.
That is cool.
And I was just like, you started, and she seemed a little old to me, but it was just a sweet little horse, and it was cool. And then I was like, bye, horse. And then, I rode off, and it was just a fun little experience. That made me think about it, that the kid stopped to walk over. To me, that scene was about the scene and nothing else. It was an isolated moment where everything's fucked up, and this kid just takes a moment to walk over this unfamiliar place through a barbed wire fence, which, by the way, stepping through a barbed wire fence is always a bad idea because there's a reason why someone put barbed wire there.
Yep.
But he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go pet the horse. He's like, maybe this kid's never seen a horse in his life. It's in all the chaos, he takes a moment to let everything just stand still. Someone's trying to kill his fucking dad, and he's like just taking that moment. And it takes me back to, God, I bet you didn't know I was going to be this wordy in the self-reflection part, did you?
I like it though.
I'm always so wordy. He has a future in podcasting. We did that episode on like relaxing, and I started the episode with, my girlfriend asked me, what do you do to relax? And I was like, what is relax? So that we can learn a lesson from that kid right there, that no matter how fucking crazy everything is, maybe it's a good idea to just like stop and have just a minute or two just for that minute or two to happen. Yeah. And for me, I think that the scene was isolated on purpose, and sort of the symbolism that I saw there was that this is supposed to be just by itself.
I like that. I didn't get that from the scene, but I now that you've explained that to me, I really like that. Yeah.
And they're even taking the audience, like the way that they do the lighting and the camera angles, like the work that they do there. Like, dude, like seriously, like, later this week, just watch that scene by itself. And like, it's almost like they're taking the audience there too. Like, guys, just pause the plot for a second and look at how well we can use cameras and stuff. Like, let us flex our cinematography skills for a moment. And I recognize that the fact that it made me think of like meeting a horse was kind of weird, but that's what I had in my head. I even paused the movie to tell my girlfriend the story.
That's cool. That's actually good.
Because I was like, which she rolled her eyes at, like, can we just watch a movie without you pausing it in the fucking middle, please? But
no, of course not.
Never.
No, I really appreciate that, because that's something that was kind of lost on me on that. I'm like so conscious always of screen time. How much time do they have? And it's like, why are they taking the time to show this? Is it going to be important later? But I completely missed the fact that maybe it's just important right now to step away and take this brief, like this breath. Yeah. Are you ready for Crush?
Or maybe it was just fucking pointless. I don't know.
Well, either way, you have given it a point now by saying that. Like to me, there is a point there. Yeah.
Cool.
Are you ready for Movie Crush? I'm so ready,
dude. I'm so ready. I'm just wondering who did the obvious thing.
I did the obvious thing. Of course, my Movie Crush is Hannah. I don't think there's any other answer that's anywhere close. So normally we talk about the character, not the actress, but it is Angelina Jolie. She was the way too pretty for her role. Like, they didn't even try to like make her like anywhere near like rugged or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's this gorgeous A-list actress that is somehow a smoke jumper that like it looked a little bit out of place, like, but the character though, it's like, as far as like, the meaning of crush we have here is like, so it doesn't have to be like a gender specific thing or like sexual thing, where it's like, it's the character that you would really want to spend more time around. And like, I think that like the character was cool in this. I think even the scene of her walking through the woods with Connor, teaching him that the pheasant the pheasant fucker like rhyme or whatever, like stuff like that was like it was an endearing character. I could have definitely seen myself stuck in a forest fire, trapped in a creek with that character. What about you?
I didn't think that was the obvious one. I thought it was the bearded smoke jumper extra. That was. I'm just kidding.
Unnamed smoke jumper 4.
Yeah, like smoke jumper number 69. So nice. For the character part, I decided not to go with the obvious one because Angelina Jolie is the obvious one. Yeah. I went with the character Allison. Okay. That was in part of my like self-reflection thing. Like I liked the way that she did what was necessary. Mm-hmm. The part where she doesn't let the FBI agents into her place, when she tells them that they're not welcome to come in, when they doubt her, like, oh, you dumb girl, you're pointing it the wrong way. And she's like, no, I'm not. Get set on fire, bitch. And then like now half of your face is missing. The fact that she went so far as to that shows you like that kind of like, because there's a lot of areas in the U.S. that seem very quote untamed. Yeah. And Montana is one of them. It shows you like the ruggedness of the people and that everybody will do what's necessary, that she is pregnant but still fucking goes to hunt these people down to save her husband, to make sure I just fucking love the character, the ferocity of that to me, any kind of aggression for the sake of caring for others or saving the lives of others, to me is gorgeous. And I just love the qualities embodied by that character.
That's a good answer. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Of course. So let's move on to favorite line then. I know you had 2 isolated there. You said you had one that's kind of a joke, one that's a serious one. I'm gonna go with my joke first then, because this one was totally a meme line, but I loved it. I thought it was funny. But if I were to deliver the line, who eats salad for breakfast? It's not the greatest line, I know, but in context, in everything, like it made me laugh, and it definitely stood out to me from the movie.
That was good. I had a couple possible throwaway lines, but this one, to me, it was a character that was a big part of the story. It's an actor that I think fucking killed it in this movie. Absolutely killed the performance. As I said earlier, this actor, I mean, he stole just about every scene he was in, and I can't wait to see some more of him. And this is a line that tells you just in one sentence, and the delivery that I'm going to butcher tells you everything you need to know about this character and about what's happening. Are you someone I can trust?
That was a good one. Yeah.
But he did it so much better than I could ever do it. Like I was like, do I need to get some glycerin? Because I seriously thought about it.
I was wondering which one you were doing. Because I really thought you were going to go with the if you did the right thing, then why are you so scared? That was also everything you said leading up to that line, also, or leading up to giving your line, I think also is the same for that as well. But
yeah, I mean, it also gives you some idea of the intelligence of the character himself, that he recognizes some things like, dude, I really was gonna do How Far Away is Jacksonville, but I decided not to.
That would be a random throwaway. Like, hold on, your favorite line was How Far Away is Jacksonville? That's good.
And I wrote it down at the very beginning of the film, and I was like, this will be replaced by the end of the movie, I'm certain.
Well, next week is we were discussing it right before the episode. We were trying to see if we possibly could change it out for something else, because as we were talking about, there were 3 major releases all in 1 week. So the movie we're going to talk about next week came out the exact same day as Those Who Wish Me Dead. So by next week, it's going to be, old news. But we have a running theme here that we are going to do Amy Adams movies whenever possible. We did her We did. Hold on, phrasing. We reviewed 2 of her movies back to back, literally like week by, and didn't really mean to. And since then, we've kind of like talked about it being a little bit of a joke. So next week is going to be The Woman in the Window, Netflix release, starring Amy Adams. Have you seen much about it yet? Anything? I've purposely avoided trailers since I know we were going to watch it.
A whole lot of people that I know have seen it already, so I've multiple times had to be like, no spoilers, no spoilers. So I don't know a lot about it. I've heard mixed reviews.
Okay.
But I haven't even watched the trailer for it. I'm not the foggiest of what it's actually about.
Me neither. I'm expecting some sort of thriller with a decent performance by Amy Adams, just because she's a great actress. But that's basically all I know. Well, guys, this is going to bring us to the end of another episode of the Metacast Movie Show. If you are watching this on YouTube and you've enjoyed the discussion, please hit the like button, subscribe to keep up to date, and you can even comment below and tell us how you felt about Those Who Wish Me Dead.
If you also feel like Ty threw away his movie crush idea by picking Angelina Jolie, or if you want to further keep up to date or even join us as a guest on a future episode, please join our Discord. The link is in the description below. We will be live next week on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/TylaTV.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I hope you guys have a great week.